All right, hey YouTube, my name is Justin. Today's video is all about eBay returns. Should you offer them? Should you not? And if you do offer them, how should you go about doing it to reduce the total number of returns that you get? First off, my method, I offer free returns on nearly everything that I sell. So free returns means that the seller, me, pays for shipping if the buyer wants to return the item, send it back to me. I pay for their label. So it is an extra cost, but I do it because I think it's the right thing to do, and I'll use this video to talk about why exactly I do that. There's a few things that I don't do free returns on though. Those are things that I sell for parts, and so eBay gives you the option to sell something used for parts or not working. That just means it's in an as-is condition, and so you can offer returns on things that are as-is condition, but I don't, and so I do no returns on things that I sell. So like a broken camera, for example, like maybe a 35mm camera that I haven't tested, for example, or that I know is not working, but someone might want to buy the parts for. I just go ahead and sell that as for parts not working, and I don't offer returns. But literally everything else I offer returns on, and I offer free returns. And so I really think that's the best method, and I'll spend this video talking about exactly why. So the number one reason why you should be offering returns on eBay is customer service. So whether you like it or not, selling on eBay is a customer service job. It's your job as a seller to please the customer. And in today's world, mostly thanks to Amazon, customer expectations are that you can return your items. It's just a weird feeling if you're a buyer and you're trying to buy something and it says no returns. Like, I just, as a buyer myself, I don't want to buy something that I can't return for some reason. So it's very unlikely that I'm actually going to buy an item if there's a chance I can't return it if something is wrong. And so offering returns, it also sends the right message to your buyers. It says, hey, I'm confident in my product, and if you don't like it, you can send it back. And so customer expectations, again, are the number one reason why I offer returns on eBay, and free returns at that. So thanks, Jeff Bezos. His sort of focus on customer service has meant that everyone else has to get in line if you want to offer a similar experience and customer service experience for your buyers. And I do, and I think it really works and it helps. The number two reason why I offer returns on eBay is because, well, if a buyer wants to return something, even if you don't offer returns, they can most likely figure out a way to make it happen. eBay is very buyer forward. They're buyer centric. They do everything they can to please the buyer. That's the main focus of eBay. They do offer pretty good seller support, in my opinion, but if there's a problematic buyer and a buyer really wants to get their money back, no matter what the situation is, they're going to figure out a way to make it happen regardless of whether you accept returns or not. And so even if you list an item with no returns, there's multiple ways that a buyer can submit a request for return or to get their money back, and chances are they're going to have that request satisfied by eBay, and they're going to get their money back regardless of whether you allow returns or not. So knowing that, I just say, hey, I might as well offer returns, because I know people, one, as I said, customer expectations, they're expecting to be able to return stuff, and it's a red flag for a buyer if they can't return something. And number two, they're going to do it. If somebody really wants to return something, they're going to do it anyway. So we might as well make it easy for them. So the number three reasons why I offer returns on eBay is that you get some special privileges as a seller by eBay from offering returns and offering free returns. And so if you're a top-rated seller, and that means you meet some criteria that suggests that eBay trusts you and they want to promote you as a top-rated seller, which I am, they give you some of these special privileges on your listings where you do have free returns, free 30-day returns. And so one of those special privileges is a 10% discount on the final value fee. And so as you know, when you sell on eBay, getting access to their platform and to their audience, they charge you a fee, right? A percentage of the sale that you have to pay. It's usually right around 11, 12, 13%. Well, if you're a top-rated seller and you offer free returns, they take 10% off of that amount. So it's going to save you money in the long run. And the second great benefit that you get as a top-rated seller offering free 30-day returns is the ability to do partial refunds on returns. And so this means that if someone buys an item, let's say buys an item that's brand new in the packaging and never been opened, never been used, and they get it and they open it and use it and then return it, you can provide a refund, but not a full refund. So you can recoup some of the costs of no longer having a new item to resell once you get that item back. And you can only give that buyer 50% back on their return. And so you can't do that unless you're a top-rated seller offering free 30-day returns. But if you are a top-rated seller and you do have the free 30-day returns, you can give somebody only 50% of their refund money back. And so that's a really great way to protect yourself as a seller if you sell something and get it back in a condition that it wasn't what you sold it in. And so maybe it breaks, or maybe the buyers trying to scam you by sending back an item, replacing it with an item that they had broken previously. But either way, you're protected in there. And so that's another great benefit of offering returns and being a top-rated seller on eBay. And the fourth reason is that if you do get a return, you can still resell that. And I very often do this. I very often will sell something, get a return, the user sends it back, and I inspect it and I list it back up for sale. And I'm only out really kind of the money that it cost me to provide the shipping label back. And so eBay is going to refund all my fees and my final value fees and everything else. And my only expense is, again, that shipping label that I've provided the buyer as an offer of free returns for them to actually get the item back. And I just resell the stuff. And so, the amount of money that I lose on returns every year is very minimal. All right. And with that, I will offer you a little trick on how to reduce the total number of returns that you get on eBay. And that's by requiring an RMA number to be included before a shipping label is generated. And so on eBay, when a buyer opens up a return, it's going to be automatically approved, and eBay is going to send that buyer a shipping label that they then print out and ship the item back to you as the seller. By requiring an RMA, that means that a return is automatically approved by eBay, but the shipping label doesn't get sent out until you tell them to send the label out. And so that gives you an opportunity to reach out to the buyer before they have access to the shipping label to send it back and try to rectify the situation without having them actually submit the return. And so I've used this many times where a buyer perhaps had some issue with the item and they opened up a return and they automatically get the label and they slap it on there and send it back, and you have no opportunity to actually do anything about it. But by requiring this RMA and stopping the shipping label process until you approve it, you can then reach out to the buyer and say, hey, what's going on? Is there something I can help with? Is it defective? Is it an error that I can fix just by working with them over eBay messages? And often that has been the case where we've been able to resolve the issue without actually going through with the return. And so by requiring RMA, you get to pause that shipping label process and make sure that the buyer doesn't have access to the shipping label until you give them access to it. And so let me show you how to actually turn that on, because it's kind of hidden in some of the eBay settings here. And so what you do is you go to your My eBay screen, and then you go into orders here and you scroll down to returns, and that's going to list off all the returns that you have. And on the bottom left, this is from a desktop browser, by the way. I don't know how to get there on a mobile phone. On the bottom left, you're going to have under settings, return preferences. And if you scroll down on the return preferences page, you have RMA number, and there's a checkbox. Give me the option to add an RMA return authorization number to each return label. And so again, turning that on means that labels are not going to be automatically generated to a buyer who's requested a return until you actually approve the return first. And that just gives you the option to reach out to that buyer and see if you can rectify the situation without having them actually send it back. And so it's proven to be pretty helpful for me. It's reduced the total number of returns that I've gotten. It's added a little bit of extra work because you have to talk to the buyer and come to a resolution, but it saves some returns, and so might as well give it a shot. And that's it. Those are my tips on why you should offer returns on eBay and why they work for me, and maybe they'll work for you. Give it a shot. Thanks.